Hello and a very warm welcome to this Philbert Flies review of Digital Design's Salzburg scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. You join me on approach here to runway 15 at Salzburg, and it's an early morning approach. The sun rising over the Alps there, it was just too spectacular to pass up. Now I'm starting with an approach, as always, to give you a look at the surrounding area and also so that you can gauge the performance of this scenery on my system, which is comprised of an i7-8700K processor with 32GB of RAM and a 1080 Ti graphics card. Now I hate starting with a negative, especially when I'm reviewing a scenery that I like as much as this one, but I am experiencing one or two stutters and pauses on this approach that I don't normally experience at other add-on airports. Now they look worse in the video, for sure, but they are there in the sim as well. Your mileage may vary, mine isn't the most powerful system, but there it is. Anyway, we will complete the approach and landing, and I will speak to you again at a stand when we'll have a good look around the airport and the town in different weather and lighting conditions, and I will finish up by giving you my opinion on this add-on. Speak to you shortly.
Retard. 10. 5.
Welcome to Salzburg. We're parked up here on stand Whiskey 6. No jetways at all at this airport, and there are no operable air stairs in the scenery either. So let's take a look at the terminal building. So the standard of modelling is very good. The texturing, if we get nice and close, we'll have a good look. I think you'll be relatively happy with. The roofs are not super high res, but these concrete textures, the doors and windows, and the rest of the building are done to a high standard. We have a mixture of PBR reflective glass and transparent glass, which we'll see later on. And to me, that is pretty good. And this portion of the terminal, as you see, has transparent glass and a partially modelled interior, which looks very nice. Something that's also worth noting is that the glass is tinted both from the outside and the inside. Now that's quite rare, and it's nice to see. So you can come inside the terminal and look out without it looking like there's no glass in the windows. We have a good amount of airport clutter. We don't have any static airliners, but we do have this rather nice DC-3 over here. We have buses parked up, static air stairs, that sort of thing, which really add a bit of life to the place. The landside areas are quite nicely modelled. We don't have particularly high resolution textures for the car park, but we do have a lot of buildings on this side of the airport which are done to a very high standard. The front of the terminal is nicely modelled, as is this rather large canopy extending out over the roadway here. And we've got some really nice details like these advertising hoardings, this rather unusual canopy here, and this interesting artwork on the front of this building. And the detail really does extend quite a long way away from the airport. As you can see, we've got a lot of custom modelling all around the place. Very nice to see. The control tower looks absolutely spectacular with this reflective metallic surface here. And we even have a modelled interior. And the more I see of this sort of thing, the more I like it. It is really immersive. The more time you spend looking around this airport, the more impressed you will be, I think. Just take a look at this terrace up here with these planters. And we've even got the odd person scattered around, like this chap here looking out over the airfield. And this telescope here. Really, really nice. So if you're someone who likes watching AI traffic come and go, or other players in multiplayer, you've got a variety of vantage points to choose from. Over here we have a fully modelled fire station with 3 fire engines inside it. And these buildings over here are very nicely done as well. Not entirely sure what this is. It could be a police station, judging by the police vehicle parked outside. Could be a sort of customs and excise station, or just some admin offices. But the quality of the modelling and texturing is absolutely superb, and good use of transparent glass and PBR materials throughout. This hangar over here is fully populated with various airport vehicles, baggage loaders, airstairs, that sort of thing. And I really like the detailing on this area with the rusty corrugated iron on top of what I presume is some sort of a storage locker. And we've got more of that rust here. It all looks very, very realistic and lifelike. They've done a really nice job with this north apron here. Just have a look at the detailed texturing on here and the solar panels on the roof. Really nice. Again, we've got some vehicles scattered around. We've got a good fence around the area. And we've got a couple of static helicopters parked over here, which again are really good models with good high resolution textures. So we've got an EMS helicopter and a police helicopter. A couple of hangars, and plenty of space to park your light aircraft, if that's what you're into. The North Apron is home to the Hangar 7 Aviation Museum here, which is absolutely spectacular. Just look at that. Just look at the detail on that hangar and on these 2 towers. Really nicely done, as is this hangar over here. Both have a static image rather than a fully modelled interior, but I think that's fair enough considering how seldom you're likely to be using this area in day-to-day operations. Even this catering building next door is done to a very high standard. I really like the truck and the trailer parked up. It's these sort of little details that help to bring the airport to life. The ground textures are mostly very good. They're nice and crisp. And the taxiway lines and other markings are done well. Again, not too bright, not too faded, quite realistic looking. There are 1 or 2 areas where the textures are less good though. Now, I really like to see things like this, cracked concrete, and the tyre marks over here. They look really authentic. However, if you get even a little bit close, you'll notice that these lines, these cracks, are quite blurry. So that is a bit of a negative. I would like to have seen higher resolution textures used over here. That said, the taxiways are very nice, and you've got rubber marks following the taxiway centre lines around the corners, which looks very realistic. And this asphalt tarmac texture is pretty good as well. If you get close enough, some of the lines are a little bit on the blurry side, but from cockpit height it looks perfect as far as I'm concerned. The grassy areas are very nicely modelled with good use of a variety of foliage. The signs along the taxiways are beautifully modelled and nicely textured. A lot of detail gone into those. And the runway looks great as well. Just have a look at these tyre marks on the exit taxiways, which is an unusual level of detail, I would say. We've got rubber all the way down the centre of the runway, with more at the touchdown zone, as you would expect. And the runway markings are nice and crisp. Great job. If I wanted to be really nitpicky, I would say that the colour of this main taxiway is slightly too dark. If you have a look at the Google satellite imagery, it's a very light grey, more akin to this apron texture over here. But the amount of detail that has gone into it with these patches more than makes up for it, in my opinion. You got a little taste of the night lighting at this airport during the approach, but this is what it looks like in full darkness. And I think you'll agree, it's pretty spectacular. The apron's nicely lit by these floodlights over here, and the terminal interior looks absolutely fantastic. It's as good as I've seen with baked-in textures. The section which has a modelled interior and transparent glass is also lit very, very nicely. It's normal in add-on airports to see absolutely no hint of a tint when the building is lit from within, but they've managed to get around that here. If you go in, you'll see it's a lot brighter. So they've managed to maintain the tinted glass even at night time, which is very impressive. The landside areas are beautifully lit as well. Have a look at this. Pretty realistic. And they haven't cut any corners. Look at the control tower. Again, tinted glass that remains tinted even when lit from within. And the screens are beautifully lit up as well. Lovely stuff. Now, we have seen in other sceneries that certain developers tend to cut the corner a little bit with the general aviation aprons, presumably because they are less visited by most simmers. However, that is definitely not the case here. You just have a look at this. We've got individual floodlights casting their own pools of light out the front of this building. And we've got beautifully lit stands over here. Really impressive stuff. The taxiways are very nicely lit with a combination of centerline lights and edge lights. The runway is beautifully lit. And the taxiway signs too have their own light sources, which makes them very, very legible day and night. Here is Salzburg in the rain. It looks very nice, with the ground textures supporting the default reflections and puddles very nicely. And here's Salzburg in the snow. Now, as we know by now, there are some limitations with the way Microsoft Flight Simulator displays snow, but I really think the developer has made a good job of implementing it here. You'll notice, for example, these taxiway centerlines, or the stand centerlines, don't stick out. They are partially covered with snow. You'll also notice that it's not uniform throughout the apron. We've got bits that are patchy. Now, that's probably down to the texture, but regardless, it looks really nice. Again, the centerline on this taxiway here is not uniformly covered in snow. We have patches missing, and it just looks very convincing, to be honest with you. So over here we have another example of a texture that just doesn't seem to support snow, and it looks a bit odd. We've got jagged edges, but I'm fairly confident that there's nothing the developer could have done about that, save having one uniform texture throughout the airport, which would of course look rubbish. Now, along this taxiway you'll see the difference between surfaces that support snow and surfaces that don't. Now, I actually quite like this look. It is plausible to me that there would be some surfaces, like these patched areas, that snow would adhere to better than others. That is just my opinion. I also like the fact that the grass is covered, but we don't really have the sudden edge that we've seen on other sceneries. And that's down to the foliage, really. The foliage is overhanging ever so slightly. And on the general aviation apron, again, a really nice job. A slightly thinner blanket of snow than we had on the main apron, but it looks pretty convincing to me, with the exception of the patches missing, which yeah, it's just something we have to deal with at the moment until the SDK is improved. The runway itself is totally clear of snow, which is what I would expect, really. So overall, excellent implementation. And not content to leave it at creating a beautiful airport, Digital Design have also included a number of landmarks in Salzburg's historic centre, including Hohensalzburg Fortress, which we see over here, and which is done to an incredible level of detail and accuracy. Salzburg Cathedral, and the Mirabell Palace and Andreikirche. So what do I think of this add-on? Well, I think it's superb. The level of detail that has gone into it is incredible, from detailed city landmarks to a fully modelled control tower interior and a rusty storage locker outside a fully populated utility hangar. This scenery is clearly a labour of love. The night lighting is wonderful and the snow implementation is first class. I'd like to see this one small area of ground texture improved, and I think a few performance optimizations might be in order, although it could just be my system or an issue with the surrounding area that caused the stutters, who's to say. But regardless of those small issues, this is a great add-on which I have no hesitation in recommending. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review useful. If you have, please click the thumbs up button down below and subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to do even more to support my channel, you can donate using the Streamlabs link on the top left of your screen, or by visiting buymeacoffee.com/filbertflies. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.